Welcome to How to Make a Display Board Part 2. After figuring out exactly what I wanted to do, I have sort of made a mock-up. So this is the next step. I've glued most of it together. As you can see, I've been using insulation foam. I got my hands on some insulation foam instead of some styrofoam, because this stuff actually doesn't make such a mess. It's a little sturdier, so it's nice. And I wanted to make something not too flashy and very practical, so I could just travel with it a lot easier. So you can kind of tell that it's not super big. I've cut, I've made it a little bit, like cut a little jagged edge there. These haven't actually been glued on. So these are actually from the GW Cities of Death sets. So you can see here I've put, I've kind of cut them up, and all these bits right here, all that stuff, that's actually cut up sprue. So I've mixed it with the white glue and put them in areas there to represent, areas of rubble and whatnot, and to fill in the gaps here in the back. So it's, it's created this, still have a little bit of work to do. This is foam core, as you can see, and so it doesn't melt. I'm actually going to be putting these down, which are also from the GW set. I'm going to be putting them like that to kind of create a little barrier. And then of course multi-level, so I'll have models lying here, models going up there, models going up there. Having a little bits box like this, very handy. I'm going to just pick up pieces and bits of mesh and stuff like that. My next step is to glue these together to make more of this cut sprue to kind of fill in the gaps and stuff all over here. And then I'm gonna sand the thing, and I'm going to with white glue and sand, I'm gonna prime it, probably black. Then I'm gonna give it a quick couple of layers of dry brushing, and it'll be ready to go. I've spent a couple of days gluing all these pieces together. As you can see now, this is nicely done. These are all pieces of sprue that I've grabbed a cutting board, little pair of clippers to, and I've turned into little pieces of mesh. And these are great, make for little great pieces of rubble. Hope you can see that properly there. And just mixed it with some PVA glue. Use some foam core along the sides here to kind of increase the depth. Put some in the back there to kind of fill up the gaps. Now the next step is to, then of course you can see kind of what I've been doing. I also put a little squiggly thing here to kind of break up the entirety of the board. So it's going to be passing off the rock. You can see kind of there the length of it. So that's pretty much, it's very simple, nothing too major. And as I had said before, I also put these on there to kind of give it some character. So that's going to be good. So the next step is to grab some PVA glue. So that's why I have a couple of these. Alright, so grabbing some PVA glue, and then grabbing my hobby sand. I'm going to be creating a paste of hobby sand and PVA glue, and I'm going to be covering all this exposed styrofoam. So I've mixed a pot of PVA glue, some brown color, just acrylic paint, and some hobby sand from over there. As you can see here, it's kind of like it's like a goop. And then what you do with this is you grab said goop and you goop it on to the board, just like this. It doesn't have to be tidy at all. This is rubble. Now the reason why you put the brown color in there is that as it dries, you'll be able to see what areas you've actually covered and what areas you haven't. So if you're missing any spots, you'll be able to tell quite extensively. Don't worry about getting it anywhere, like everywhere. You're going to be priming over it anyway and then dry brushing it. So it doesn't have to be perfect. After all, it is the 41st millennium. And then all the different sizes of rubble will actually come through when you're dry brushing the final product. And that is what your aim is to really show off the different depths of rubble in you know, a sort of medley of ways, creating depth, creating character to the actual piece of itself. As you can see, it doesn't really take that long to do the entire thing, and just to give you an idea, you just want to get into like the corners and whatnot. One of the biggest reasons why I put the pieces of foam core on the edges there was because you know, this stuff will drip down, so the less edges you do, the better, as it'll, you know, kind of help with the overall look. So you see there, it's, you know, coming along nicely. I haven't really missed any spots, and this will actually come out really nicely. Then I'm gonna probably I'm gonna just kind of put PVA glue all around these parts, and really and then just you know put all the sand over like I usually do. It's, you know, very generic. You kind of cover it all in PVA glue, but you know, this will actually get to dry for tonight. I'll put the PVA glue on tomorrow, so I'll well, for you it's going to be part of the same video, but just to give you a sense of a time frame, this entire thing's taken me probably about a week on and off, so a couple of hours every day during the week that I've been working on it, and so far so good. And then of course this little bit right here. Now you know, even though it's technically a big rock, I don't mind doing this. Adds some texture to the actual rock itself, even though it's going to be painted as a rock, not necessarily as rubble or as dirt, but it does add some texture to it, so when you dry brush it, it serves as a purpose. It also hardens it as the PVA glue hardens, which means that it's less likely to break when you're... Okay, so we'll be back. So now what I did is I put a layer of white PVA glue and then sprinkled the hobby sand all over, and now I'm going to let it sit overnight. So I let it sit overnight, and as you can see, it's nice and tough. This is nice and hard now, which means that the glue is set, which is great. And then I put this on, so I put a layer of PVA glue, put the sand on, and now that's dried overnight. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix in here, going to mix a little bit of PVA glue with some water, and then I'm going to make a very, very thin layer. I'm going to cover the entire thing so that it sets the sand, so that when you scrape it, none of it comes off. So when you're painting it, it'll actually stay nice and dry. I mixed about 1 part glue to 2 parts water, and it's a little bit of a milky substance. You just have to make sure that it's well mixed and that there's no pieces of glue in there, so that it's all diluted nicely into the water. And then you grab this and you will literally cover the entire table. Oh, there's a piece. See, that's why I wanted to make sure that the glue isn't in there, so I'm just going to take that piece of glue off. Just make sure that the entire table is covered. It doesn't have to be thick, it can be very, very thin. All it is meant to do is to help the sand that you've already put on there from scraping off, making it quite durable. And so it's especially important on corners and stuff like that. If you transport it and whatnot, you're not going to have sand falling off all the time. And then after it's dry, you can prime it, and we'll get started painting it. Isn't that fantastic? Okay, so that's all ready, and now we just have to wait for it to dry. Okay, so you can see that I've primed the display board, and I've also started doing some dry brushing. As you can see there, it's still wet. And just a little bit of an angle here, so you can kind of see a little bit of the perspective. I'll put a model near it so you can kind of see the size as well. You can see. Yeah, so that's the first. I just basically, anybody who lives in Canada or the US, go to the dollar store and I buy this stuff. and I'm going to do 3 layers. So I do cinnamon brown, which is like a dark brown, then I do a medium color brown, and then I do a very, very light dry brush of a tan color, which is like an off-white, like a very, very light color. And then I'm going to be doing all the ruins and stuff in different colors. Right now, just waiting for it to dry. So a couple of dry brushes later, and it's pretty much ready to display. That's right. So for the stone and masonry, I did a layer of Eschen grey, and then a layer of Codex grey, like a light dry brush of Codex grey, and then an even lighter dry brush of the old Astronomicon grey. I don't know what the conversion is, but I guess you guys can find it out. There you go. So, display board, pretty much ready to go. Just have to take this off here to, you know, show that to have it nice and there. But just very effective way to get full points at a tournament is by making sure that you have a display board. Now, it doesn't have to be too fancy, it doesn't have to be too crazy. Something as simple as, you know, a little bit of styrofoam or insulation foam, some old bits from your bits box, sprue, some sand, and PVA glue and some paints, and all of a sudden you have some really cool display. So right when we come back, we'll see you with the army on it. And there you go, the army in all its glory. This is my Dark Eld army, of course, for the Michael Mudd Memorial Tournament. Just got the display board nicely done and made. Thanks a lot for watching. Make sure you check out the Facebook page, YouTube channel. Well, if you're here, you're probably on the YouTube channel. The blog site, all that good stuff. Thanks a lot for watching. Let me know what you think. It's a cool little display board. I like it. Cheers.